3 weeks.
All right.
Long time.
I'm going to call the meeting to order.
All right. Tom Dester,
Here.
Scott Holwick,
Here.
Roger Lang,
Here.
Renee Davis,
Here.
Dan Wolford,
Here.
Ken Hewson,
Here.
Wes Lowry,
Here.
Kevin Bowden,
Here.
Alex Merkline,
Here.
Nicole Halpin, who's here with us online, Chris Huffer,
Here.
Heather McIntyre is here. Hope had her baby a couple of weeks ago, so
yeah.
she's out on maternity leave. And Councilmember Chris is not here yet, so Chair, you have quorum.
What was the baby?
She had a baby girl. I don't remember her name though.
Campbell.
Campbell. Okay.
Campbell.
Congratulations, Hope.
That's cool. I believe that's what she named it
I'm making a guess she's going to say no from now on.
Okay, everybody hopefully read through last month's meetings, minutes. Any comments, questions on the minutes? Is there a motion to move? Dan moves, second. Scott? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
You guys make that easy on me.
Try.
Efficient.
Try. Kevin, how are you?
Doing pretty good.
Good. Are you ready?
Yeah. This morning the flow was 20 CFS, and the historic average is about the same, 20 CFS. Currently the call on St. Marie Creek is Highland Reservoir number 2, which is an 1881 well right. The call on the South Platte is North Sterling Canal with an admin number of 53454, and that's a 1996 water right. Ralph Price Reservoir at Button Rock is at 6377, or approximately 11,638 acre feet in storage, which is 22.7 feet down, or 4,500 acre feet down. Union Reservoir is at a gauge height of 18.1 feet, and that's 6,475 acre feet in storage, and that's down approximately 6,293 acre feet. That basin reservoirs at the end of February were approximately 60% full. Last year at this time, reservoirs were at 75% full. So a little bit behind last year.
Just out of curiosity, when do they stop measuring snowpack?
It probably won't be till June.
Yeah, they'll read it through May, and then by June it's pretty much done.
And how's it doing right now?
St. Vrain is around 80% median. South Platte is closer to 100% median. So
And it looks like the Colorado's at about 100, so,
Good.
yeah.
Any questions for Kevin? Thanks, Kevin. Any public invited to be heard?
None.
Any agenda revisions?
I have none.
Okay, well, maybe you can take us through the development.
Sure. So, have 5 items in front of you, one of which is requiring action. That being Westview Acres final plat. It's a 6.829 acre parcel located south of Glen Eyre Drive and west of Airport Road. Water Board may recall this property was annexed about this time last year. There was no historic water rights that pertinent to it, so therefore none transferred at annexation. They'll be in compliance with the raw water policy upon satisfaction of the 20.487 acre foot deficit. They're looking to put 24 single family homes, and haven't had any indication as to how and when they plan to satisfy this. They've been able to satisfy it since annexation, as according to the policy, and I think they're just waiting for a business-related decision. So
You said single family homes?
that's right.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's been one of the few. I think there's 2 existing homes on this roughly 7-acre site, but it'll be, and when it's all done, there'll be about 24.
Is this the one that's caught a little bit of controversy?
That's a different one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's the same area.
It's the same general vicinity. This one's west of airport. The one that had some controversy that withdrew their application is on the the east side of
Canamoto.
Yeah.
I think the west side still had people show up at.
They do, but
meetings and such.
So Kanemoto is south of this. This is also an area that's just on the edge of the Longmont planning area, but I don't know that there's really controversy on these.
So I have a question about the timing, knowing that we're having new rates come into effect in May. Will they be, because they're doing this in March, will they be under the old rates or the new rates?
So whenever they
Provided they do
satisfy, they'll pay the then cash in lieu rate. So
So
they
their
know
clock
what
is
it is
ticking,
now,
yeah, okay.
and they know what it will be on May 1st. So
Yep. Okay.
Do you get a sense that the reason that we have 5 on our agenda for today, though, is because people are trying to sneak in before the minute? Or-
no, because the other 4 are already in compliance. So they're really well. I'll let you act on this, and then I can speak more generically on development after you're done with these.
Scott, you have something?
I just want to make sure that they were in communication with us about the change in the cash
They
and
are.
lieu
Yeah.
rates,
They are.
just to cover that base. We talked
Yep.
about how we reached out to lots of people. I thought this would be useful to know that they were, so. West of that.
So they're on the bubble, but they know it.
Any more questions about this? Is there a motion to move on this?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, moving second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you got more to add?
So the other 4 items are for informational only. The reason they're going in front of you is because the board is required to review all development activity, such as these minor subdivision plats. So I'm just going to go through briefly each one of them, and then if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them, and then we can talk a little bit about. Well, I think the cash and lieu question we can talk about it at that item on your agenda. So the first informational item, Habitat 15th and Terry subdivision final plat. Probably to no surprise, it's around 15th and Terry. This is kind of over by the Baptist Church, if you're familiar with that. They're planning to put Habitat for Humanity actually is planning to put 17 duplex buildings, so it'll be 34 total units. That's really all I have on that. The way this was satisfied in the past was with transfer of a quarter share of oligarchy. But any questions on this one?
Is there any church property involved in this, or are they just close to it?
I think it includes a little bit of the church property, but back in, I believe it was in 2022, so what happened, this parcel was annexed as an enclave. It's part of a 1990 enclave annexation. And according to enclave annexations, they're not required to transfer historical water rights at that time. They can, but they're not required. When they transfer their historic water, which was a quarter share of oligarchy, that satisfied the full deficit pertinent to this property. And so, but yeah, there's a little bit of, there's the church owns 2 parcels. They own a kind of a rectangular piece adjacent to Terry Street, and then they own a bigger lot that they're serving on. This replat, or this plat, actually kind of subdivides those.
Fair amount of land around there.
There is, yeah. I used to be playing a lot of football and stuff around there, and so they're developing. Did you have a question now?
Yeah, just curiosity, is the quarter share oligarchy, what acres foot for that quarter share?
So it depends if you give it a direct flow or storage credit. If you give it a direct flow credit, it was around 27 acre feet per share. If you gave it a storage component, it was about 16 acre feet per share. So what they did is they took a portion of that was necessary to meet the direct flow, and the remainder went to storage. So the combination of the two satisfied it for this 8 acres.
Anything else? Okay.
Okay. The next one was Harvest Junction South, replat C. That's a parcel that's really just straight north of Lowe's. If you were to, the map show that this is a replat of the entire lot that Lowe's owns. So they include their building and a lot of their parking lot and everything. What they're going to be doing is replatting just that northern little piece up there right next to Ken Pratt Boulevard, and it's going to be a Take 5 oil change drive-through. And they've already satisfied all the deficits, so there's no further deficits on this.
They own all the way to Ken Pratt?
They own all that section that
Yeah.
showed us the site,
Yeah.
yeah. That's all owned by Lowe's.
So we're squeezing that business in between Chick-fil-A and
It's kind of like how some other large businesses carve out
There
lots
is in there somewhere.
and sell them off, so. Yep.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Any other comments? Okay.
Okay, the next one's the Bacon subdivision, replat C. So this particular one is also going to be developed by Habitat for Humanity. It's down just kind of northwest of Isaac Walton Park. There's there are currently 2 vacant lots. They're going to put 2 duplexes or 4 units on that. Very similar to the situation that you found on the 15th and Terry one, where it was part of this particular piece actually had a formal county subdivision back in the 1900s, but it annexed under the Daigle annexation in 71, and then subdivided back in 2022, and so they go through different iterations, and that's why we have a replat here.
Before units?
Before units on these 2 lots. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. And then the last one is Sullivan subdivision replat C, a 1 acre parcel located north of Longs Peak Avenue and east of Bover, so it's kind of west of Sunset Golf Course. And it's a replat to combine 2 lots. There's an owner that owns 2 separate lots, and he wants to make them one. And so that's really what this lot's doing. And there's no further deficits on it. They were previously satisfied when it was platted.
That should pretty much fill that up, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's. I don't know if there's really any what development's going to be occurring on this, but again, the owner owns 2 lots and he wants to make it 1 large lot. So. Okay.
Comments,
I think that's all
questions?
single-family residential, isn't it?
What's that?
I think that's all single-family residential.
You're
Yeah.
right.
So it'll be
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's already a home on one of the lots. I think it's just, who knows, maybe they'll apply to enlarge the home or something. I don't know.
I don't know. 5 or 6 homes, something like that.
Not too many. It's on a cul-de-sac if you've been in there. Yeah. You guys remember Dave Macy?
Yep.
It's right adjacent to his place.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
So, are you covering cash and lieu?
I am. So, what I wanted to say is we went to City Council, and Council approved the resolution R 2025-05, which makes the fee for cash and lieu, the recommendation Water Board had, $59,625 effective May 1st. So that's on schedule. What we have in front here is for anybody in the development community or the listening audience to be able to have a kind of a history of a short history of kind of how we got here. So we're kind of speaking to that. But what we really wanted to express to Water Board, and as Water Board may recall, back in 2021, about November of 2021, we had the City of Longmont Legal Counsel come and speak to the board. We talked about impact fees and some other things, and we had our strategic integration folks at that meeting, and they talked about cash in lieu and how it's spent and what it can be used on. And at that time, it was determined that a good basis for determining cash in lieu would be the Windy Gap Firming project. That was the identified project, and as we stated in this memorandum, that in referencing the city code, the basis for Water Board's recommendation shall include the current cost of new water supply projects, and so as identified in the city's raw water master plan. So if you look at the raw water master plan, there's kind of some structural elements and there's some non-structural elements. And the structural elements were like Button Rock enlargement, Union enlargement, Windy Gap Firming project, which is AKA Chimney Hollow, and Union Reservoir Pipeline. Those were the four that were identified. The non-structural was like water conservation, CBT, not native basin purchases, and so forth. And so, because at that time we were getting ready to start the Windy Gap Firming, we were in the process of doing the Windy Gap Firming project, Chimney Hollow, made a lot of sense. Since that time, there's a couple things that have happened. One is, and I'll talk about it a little bit later here today. The construction is going to be complete this year, and so one may argue that we're kind of done with that one. It's no longer a new water supply project. Those would be some of the other ones that would be identified. That coupled with receiving input from our legal counsel, there's been some concern about using Windy Gap Firming as it relates to kind of essentially some impact fees. And without getting into the details, it's going to make sense, we believe, the city believes, as we move forward, to set cash in lieu based upon CBT and selling prices of CBT and native basin rights. That's what cash in lieu can and will be used for. We're looking to acquire some water rights on one of our existing change cases, and that's what that money could be used for. So moving forward, in June, I would let Water Board know they should hopefully expect us to be able to provide some information on what those rights would be, what the current value or cost would be for us to acquire those. And I can tell you right now, though, it's very, very similar to what the to-be cash in lieu fee is. It's going to be very close. But the matrix, the emphasis is the matrix we're using to set cash in lieu for this coming year, if there is a change, if you guys think that the data suggests any change at all, will not reference Chimney Hollow and Windy Gap Firming. And that's coming kind of from our legal perspective and our city managers.
What would you guess of those two? What percent would CBT be in it? Half of it, or?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of going back to where.
So we've went back and forth. In the very beginning, 1963, it was based on CBT alone, and we had pretty good data. And then because what we found was native basin whites weren't the information related to those wasn't readily available.
And it was harder to update too.
It was more difficult to update.
Because
I
the
remember
marketplace is-
Yeah.
when I was on the water board in my previous 7 years, it was, we would look at the conservation number that would never change. We
Right.
look at, native
Right.
basin stuff that was just, and even project numbers were hard to get updates on because
That's
the
right.
projects were in a contemplated state rather than a more actionable, we're gonna start moving dirt state. So the numbers always felt
Yeah.
abstract.
Right. And so, and I think that's why what we're seeing now, we've had one cash in lieu check come in. We've had some others that are contemplating satisfying a small portion of their outstanding deficit with cash in lieu, but a majority of people are finding non-historic water. And that's why I don't think there's quite the level of interest, I don't know if interest is the right word, interest or concern of this change fee. Because when you get non-historic, regardless of what the current fee is, it doesn't matter. You've captured a credit or a yield for that non-historic water, and it doesn't matter what the fee is. So, so I don't know if we're going to see a lot of cash in lieu come in. I've not had a lot of conversations with developers saying they're planning to satisfy it. The one that did was the St. Vrain Valley School District for their Montessori school, and that's the cash in lieu check that we've already received. But most of the others are either there's enough uncertainty in the market that they're not sure that they're ready to invest those monies, and not knowing what the market's going to look for them. But that's their call. But we're letting everybody know we're reaching out to absolutely everyone. Our planning department's helping with that. Everyone in the development review pipeline is aware of the change. So really not looking for there's really no reason to change it now. We haven't even made it effective, and it won't be until May 1st. So, but the anticipation is that in June, we'll give you all the information we have and come up with a number, and then you guys can decide if that's what number needs to be for the next cash in lieu, or if it's going to be the same. The timing is that by doing it in June, the way our process works, from that we can put it in front of City Council, hopefully sometime probably in September, August, September-ish time frame. Then if there was a change, that then gives all the members of the public, development public, a quarter, 3 months or so to know what that new fee is going to be, and they can plan accordingly. So in the past, it was whenever council took action on it, it became effective immediately. Where now the plan is that any future changes will be similar to what happened here, where it'll have a date certain, so everybody will know. And that the plan is the date certain would be January 1st. We couldn't get it to City Council earlier enough last year to make it effective January 1st, and that's why it's May 1st. But moving forward, I could see it really the June would be the time that Water Board, you'll look at it quarterly, and if it merits changing it midstream, that's fine. But trying to heed the what we're hearing from the development community and the city manager's office, we're wanting to give a big lead into any further changes, which right now, again, I don't see them being as substantial changes as we've seen the last couple times. I think they're going to be smaller.
Well, what I like about CBT is it's simple. Somebody asked, "Where'd you come up?" I said, "That's the price of water."
That's right.
So simple.
It is.
It makes sense.
It is. And I think because of that, we're going to have that data, and I think because we're going to have a pretty good amount of non-historic water that's transferred, it just makes sense that that's what you would base it on, because we would be in that same market that everyone else is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe my question kind of speaks to that a little bit. So, like, it wouldn't have been, this June necessarily. I mean, but once construction was done on Windy Gap, on the Fermi project, then we would have been transitioning probably away from that anyway. I remember the wording was something like next foreseeable project or something like
Yeah.
this. And so, like, in the absence of this suggestion from council or something, or from your legal counsel, have there been discussions about what potentially the next thing that we would have based this on anyway? Like, are we, I guess what I'm getting at is like, are we landing in the same place that we would have been regardless of whether there were these additional concerns?
I think for the dollar amount that's being said, I think you're going to land basically at that same place. I think the next project we'll probably be looking at is probably be evaluating and updating with, and I think we even have it in our plan to get a better estimate for Union Reservoir enlargement in the pipeline. So probably the pipeline, if you're looking at those 4 that were specifically listed in the 2004 Raw Water Master Plan update, if you kind of put them in order of, I'm going to say most likely to happen, to further happening, the first was Windy Gap firming, and we've done that.
Yeah.
Probably the next one is the pipeline, Union Reservoir pipeline. Next one is Union Reservoir enlargement, and then Button Rock. And so we're going to look at having more of a real or of a current estimate of what it would cost to do those projects. And so once we get that, then we're going to be able to share that. We won't have that in June. I don't think that's necessary. I think the policy says you can look at a number of things, and because we're going to have data for cash or CBT and native basin rights, I think that really makes a lot of sense to use those numbers.
Yeah, and when it's all said and done, I mean, these other projects are so far out
Yeah.
that they may not even be considered foreseeable in some way, shape, or form, especially if you're thinking about inflation to the moment that they're done, et cetera, et cetera. So like in the interim, what we would have been buying CBT or something else for any kind of emergency needs or something, or, needs in the short term anyway.
Well, it's nice that I think our schedule will come into being, and we'll know prior to setting it in January, and everybody be comfortable knowing a little bit more how and when this thing's working. So
And as far as the timing goes, I have questions and or concerns. If we get the information in June, and knowing that we get the water board packet at 4:45 on Friday, and I'm not irked about that, but that gives us actually a short period of time to digest the information. Are you looking for a recommendation from us in June? Or could we make the recommendation at a subsequent water board meeting? How much time are we going to have to think about it?
As long as you need.
Sure, but it'd be really great to get it to council in September so that it can be more of the annual.
Hopefully it wouldn't be later than July. If you looked at it in June, had a conversation, and needed to process through, I think that would be acceptable. I don't think there's a requirement that you make that recommendation in June. It's just we typically have a 3-month lead before we put it on council's agenda, and we can put a placeholder in there. But if we think there's going to be a change, you might get the data and feel like it's close enough that it wouldn't administratively make a lot of sense to change it for $43. I'm making up a number, but
and as much as I like CBT because it is market driven, like it tells us what people are paying for it, I'm a little angsty about it because I'm angsty about everything. But like I'm a little angsty about it because it's been kind of volatile in the last couple of years. It's been very high, and then we've actually seen CBT come down, which was impossible at one point, and then it happened. So it might be good to really think through CBT and make sure we're not overcharging, or that we're not tying ourselves to something that maybe everything's tied up in municipal now and isn't going to be data available. I don't know. Yeah. So CBT also deserves good, heavy contemplation.
we might even get the minutes or the agenda by 4:30.
That's true. That extra 15 minutes would totally take care of all of my anxiety.
15 minutes, all we're asking.
It all depends on when Heather gets the information from other staff.
Heather waits patiently on water resources.
Yeah. And it's going to take more than 15 minutes to deal with my anxiety, too. So let's be clear.
Okay. Any other questions on cash and bill? Thanks, Wes.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex?
Yeah, so Water Board has been provided with a list of water legislation which has been introduced in the state Senate and House. I'm free to help answer any questions should the board have them. I think some of the most relevant legislation has thankfully been postponed indefinitely, one of which is a push to try and remove precipitation collection limitations. That has thankfully been postponed indefinitely, but should the board have any questions, I'm happy to help as I can.
Say a little more about that.
So it was pushed to try and, there was a bill, I believe, that was passed last year that was introducing, I believe, collection barrels for precipitation in residential homes.
Oh.
And this bill was introduced as a means of trying to remove any precipitation collection limitations that were introduced in that bill last year. As far as I saw, there was only one sponsor from the House, and it has been postponed indefinitely.
Okay. Anything else for Alex?
I would say that House Bill 25-1211 has caused the most uproar in the water community, but because we're not a Title 32 special water district, it's irrelevant for water board to talk about this. But we spent a lot of time on them in my world. Yeah.
We've spent time on that one in my world too, even though my other
Sure.
world is not a special district as well. But it's kind of, it does have me a little bit curious as to whether or not next year or in the future we'll see something parallel to it that's for municipal water providers. Because I find the bill to be a little bit prescriptive, and it seems like legislation taking care of things. So the bill basically says that you have to be reasonable in how you set your water system development charges, which is nice, that's cool. But then it kind of lists out some things, and I feel like that's a little prescriptive and a little tight. And I think that there's room in each community to make their own choices, and there's ability for the public to give feedback, whether that's lawsuit or showing up to water board and yelling, or showing up to city council and yelling.
Or participating in elections and voting in new board members for special districts that have to be.
Well, yeah, for the special districts
Yeah.
angle, but I
So,
mean, if it
yeah.
were to go municipal, there's still ways, but like, it does make me a little concerned.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Any other thing for Alex?
Is this format pretty working for you where you can click on it and go and
Yeah.
we were hopeful that would be, that way you could get the latest and greatest where they were at. I mean, I noticed that there was a few things that just happened even as late as the 13th after 4 o'clock when you guys.
Yeah.
So this is we're trying to hopefully make it a little more streamlined for us, but also make it real time for you.
Yes, I would. So this is the first time that we've received this format, and I think it's a good format. My experience in dealing with any monthly time step board meetings for clients during the legislative session is it's just hard. I mean, because everything's going to happen the day after you had your meeting. So there should be some way, if anybody on the board is interested, otherwise wouldn't have access. I have access to this because our firm is on the State Affairs Committee, so I can look at this on my own time. But it'd be nice to have a way to link that so that anybody on the board could look at stuff that they're interested in during the interim, because all this might be resolved by the April meeting. Certainly will be by the May meeting, so it's just hard to keep current because it moves really fast.
Yeah.
So just a suggestion or a thought, maybe we can figure that out. But
Yeah, because I put in a link to the Colorado General Assembly, and that's kind of where I see my updates. I check what the last action was on them, and
right.
that's really kind of how I stay up to date.
But if any one person is really interested in something, it's kind of hard to follow sometimes, particularly when you have the state affairs meetings on Mondays, they take an action, they decide they're going to do something. It's hard to keep on.
It is.
So,
And while I can find it easy to follow something I'm interested in,
Yeah.
SDCs, but like sometimes the breadth of what staff has got on their radar is also really helpful.
yeah.
And so
That's true.
I want your expertise included in that, which is to say the list. Because that's nice, and
Yeah.
it's been very helpful.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Just a
Thanks.
thought.
Thanks,
But this
Al.
is an improvement.
Yeah, this is great.
Ken, are you there?
He is.
Hello, Ken.
Yeah, sorry about that, I was on mute.
I think we're up to you. When you got permit
Yeah.
project update?
Thank you very much. Let me first try to share my screen. I'll do my best here. If it will load up. There we go.
We're good.
So wanted to just give a quick update on the Windy Gap firming project. So here's kind of more recent pictures. On the upper right, you're looking at the valve house. On the lower left, you're looking at the intake and outlet tower. So the project really is rapidly moving along. Actually, at the end of the last month payoff app, the project payments were at 92%. So we're really nine-tenths of the way there. Just looking at the general larger projects, the contact grouting in the downstream tunnel is almost finished. The tunnels had concrete poured, and then after they pour the tunnel, they grout between the tunnel and the it's sort of a sandstone material on the east side of the reservoir. Finally got all the valves in from Germany. We're happy about that. They're all in placed in the valve house. They're really, valve house is completely enclosed, and they're inside doing electrical and a few other items like that. And it has power, and that's good. The inlet outlet tower is 2/3 of the way done. There's just a couple more lifts, 2 more lifts, and they'll have it topped out. And so that part is good. On the main dam, they're back placing asphalt and rock fill. They still operating under a winter work plan, making sure that there isn't any frozen material. And they're using a lot of domes and heaters to keep everything from freezing. Lately that hasn't been a problem. But so the key milestones, first thing I wanted to show is this picture here. This is actually a picture taken from the south side of the reservoir site. You can see both the saddle dam, which is on the south end of the reservoir, and the main dam on the north side of the reservoir, and then almost the entirety of the reservoir site itself. So pretty impressive from this viewpoint, especially the main dam. But the piping and the valving and everything is pretty well completed or in place. Right now, they're hoping to start dry pressure testing of the entire system by the end of this month. Then in April, they'll fill the pipe, not into the reservoir, but up to the gate chamber, probably the gate chamber in the outlet tunnel, with water for leak testing everywhere. And then in June, they'll actually do the wet testing of all the valving. They hope to have the tower and final items on the pipeline done in May. And then the best news is that we're still on schedule for July for a first fill. I'll kind of go through the fill scenario. The Bureau of Reclamation had originally put out an annual operating plan, thinking they might put 40,000 acre feet in the reservoir this year. They've just recently updated their annual operating plan and are planning on putting 50,000 acre feet. So that's just a little over half of the reservoir. So that's good news, but a little surprising that they think they can get that much done. So by the end of July, they hope to have 2,000 acre feet in it. By the end of August, 4,500 acre feet. 13,000 by the end of September, 20,000 by the end of October, and then 40,000 by the end of November, and 50,000 by the end of the year. At which point they'll probably they'll be done with fill this year. Spring fill, they haven't really given us a schedule yet. The earlier lower fill rates are because you can only fill so much, a couple feet a day, and then you have some periods where you have to stop, so it takes a little longer to get a big enough area that you can put more water in. But that's really good news, that we're going to get a little bit more in there. And then this is a quick view of the construction, and I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but right now we're a tiny bit ahead of schedule on the optimistic scheduling. So we're right here. So we're just about to plateau out and get all of that work done. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing there. A couple of things wanted to highlight to the board. The first is that there will be some of the overlook tours that we've done in the past. We'll start again this spring, but if you want to see any of the hydraulic asphalt core placement, I'd sign up for the first couple because, they'll be topping out the hydraulic asphalt core probably in April, and about the time they start the tours back up. So if you want to see really much to see in terms of the construction part, I would plan on going up there sooner than later. And then let's see, one other related item is on the environmental fund. Keep in mind, so we've already paid $10 million of the 15 on the federal settlement, and then when the dam tops out, we can actually start storing. We owe the last $5 million, so that'll happen this summer. But currently, we've been $10 million deposited, but only $3.2 million spent. So there's still $6.8 million of that payment left to allocate to stream enhancement projects on the west slope. Hasn't gone out quite as fast as you would expect, but everybody that on the committee looking pretty carefully at where those funds are going. So that's good news that there's still some money over there for the learning by doing in other aspects on the west slope for stream channel enhancement. Number of projects that have been in the design phase, so the construction phase. When they get that, I'm sure they'll request more funding from that. The connectivity channels completely, fully complete and operational, so it'll be good to see that operating during the actual spring runoff this year. So I think it's all really pretty good news. And then I think since we last met, you probably heard that the the NIST project settled its environmental lawsuit pretty expensively. It's $100 million on their settlement. So I thought the $15 million was expensive, so it doesn't sound so much now when you hear that. But that project will be moving forward too. So I'm getting some good water resources projects going and hoping to keep moving forward on all of the projects. We'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any. If not, we're ready to go forward with getting the project done.
Ken, wouldn't you say the tour is going to start up?
They have not set them up yet, but it's gonna. Pretty sure it's going to be in April. So
April?
Really, in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
As soon as we actually get the schedule, we'll let you know. I would look to a late April, early May tour if you want to see any of the last of the construction.
Other questions for Ken?
I was thinking more like a September city boat tour.
Oh, what?
September city boat tour,
A boat tour.
Yeah.
You got a boat?
Paddleboard.
It's not gonna be robustly filled in September, by the way. You might want to wait till a little later in the year.
Later.
It could be a paddleboard situation.
It could be paddleboards.
Yeah.
Kayak.
Be able to ice fish in December then.
Ken, the height of the main dam, how close are we to topping that out? Is that
Within 50 feet.
how much?
Within 50 feet.
You know, I don't know that. We're probably close to 310 to 320 feet now. So I would say we only have about 30 or 40 feet to go.
Okay.
So real close.
And that,
350 is the top.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, we hit 300 right before they shut down for the winter, and now they're back doing about a foot a day. So
Okay, all right,
they're close.
yeah. Anything else for Ken?
Will there be like any kind of official events up there, like ribbon cutting? I mean, I know you do that for a groundbreaking, really, but like any time that they're going to say, okay, we're done.
I'm sure
So-
they will.
There'll be speeches.
Yeah, there's actually going to be we'll call it a ribbon cutting or a grand opening. They're not planning on doing that till August. I kind of expected there being a ribbon cutting for the first fill, but they're not planning on that. I think possibly because, unfortunately, the first fill's going to start before the construction's done, and they really can't have a lot of people around while construction is going on. So that's why they're planning. The contractor should be essentially done and off-site for all intensive purposes by October. So not an exact plan or date set, but mark your calendars for October.
Anything else? Okay, Ken, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I don't know how we want to handle the 2024 annual water board report. Somebody gonna?
Really just so I'm sure the board may remember every year a water board annual report is produced for kind of just information regarding action items taken by the board, what the board's duties consist of, and all other sorts of things. But really, I think we just need approval from the board regarding this annual report to be sent on to the city council.
Everybody had a chance to thumb through this. Pretty inclusive.
Yeah, I think I say this every year, but just thank you all for doing, Alex, I'm sure Heather's involved quite a bit, because yeah, it's fun to look back and see what the year consisted of, and if we just kind of continually just kept rolling and we didn't take a moment at once a year to say, hey, what were we doing again? Like it would be, it'd be easy to do that, but you all, because of what you're doing, taking such meticulous notes, etc., then it helps us remember and mark these occasions with
What are we doing and what did we do?
the significance that what we all do is. So yeah, thank you.
Yes, pretty.
Kudos to Alex for putting it together this year.
Kudos to Heather for making such good minutes. Look back.
A lot of
and
good
floaties.
things.
Are past year reports accessible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, should be, yeah.
So just reach out to Heather. Okay. Again, sometimes it's just nice to go back and compare what we've done, a few years back and to what we're doing now. And some
It might be a little bit cumbersome, but usually always in March of each water board is when we produce this. So you can go back online to the same portal that you were able to look at this, and you can go back to the prior years. And you go to March, you're probably going to find it, and then find it, and find it, and find it.
Or easier, you could just email me.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a quicker way. I'm sorry. I'm going straight down.
Any more comments for Alex? That's a nice report.
forward that on?
I believe so.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. Okay.
Good job.
Any comments about major project listings? Or items 10?
I just gonna mention, we're hoping to have some of the rangers available, watershed rangers available next month, so they can report on kind of some of the forest stewardship stuff and Union Reservoir programs and stuff like that. So we've got it. It's in your report. That's what we're anticipating for April, and then we'll also are hoping to get in front of you the water supply and drought management plan. So, and then I was also going to mention that it's further in your packet. We sometimes would include it down at the bottom under tentative future events. That would be the April 8th Northern Water Symposium. So hopefully if you were wanting to attend, you were able to sign up for that. It'll be in Loveland next to the ranch up there. And this is probably as good as time as any. We also include in that report water board terms, and then I think your term is coming to conclusion, and so the city clerk let us know that water board applications, or any board, including water board, applications are being accepted, and they're due by April 18th. So hopefully you'll be considering, and if not, any of the board members that know of somebody that might be interested, please have them apply by the 18th.
And I'd assume there would be some interview process.
It'd be similar to, like we've done in the past.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Still wanted to interview you, but for some reason you slipped right through the crack
I was slick, and yeah. So just because of the sequence I went through last year, I wasn't participatory in June because the decision had not yet been made.
June, you were on vacation.
One of the months I wasn't allowed to participate because they had made a decision. I thought, in any regard, if Roger's in limbo and I'm not here, there's no chair or vice chair present. That's all I was going to say. So you might have a second vice chair for that purpose.
Well, during that
Or you
meeting,
rock,
we
paper,
could
scissors.
we could elect a chair pro
Yeah.
tem.
That makes sense
for
too.
that.
Just giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
there. Okay. Anything else as far as informational items?
Nope, they were included in the packet.
Ken, you have nothing more to tell us?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you very much for allowing me to come in remote.
Is Nicole still
Yep, she's
with
still
us?
here.
Nicole, you got anything to tell us? Any questions? Maybe she's on mute too.
She is.
She's on mute.
Well, anyway, I don't want to scare her.
There she is.
Nicole, you got any questions for us?
You're muted. Here.
That's all right.
Okay, it wasn't letting me unmute it.
Sorry.
And no, I don't have any more questions. So I tried my camera. I was lagging with the video on, but no questions.
Okay, all right.
Thanks.
Did you happen to hear from Diane at all, whether she was or wasn't coming, or?
Not on this
Not
meeting,
this
but
meeting.
she was elected to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I would expect to see her,
I don't know if all of you know, but the city council did meet and talk about their role within the boards, and they decided that they committed to each other to attend at least quarterly meetings, but they're not required to be at every meeting. So you may or may not see her at each meeting.
Okay. All right, I guess item 12, cash and lieu, we'll look at that in June. And thanks for the information on where we're going with that item. And any other water board agendas we need to talk about coming up?
Next meeting is April 21st.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the cause? Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, yeah.
I did attend the stream management plan for the St. Vrain left hand Water Conservancy District, and they are putting together an advisory board for environmental flows, and they're asking for participants to be part of that advisory committee. And, you know, Ken, I don't know if you've heard about that at all, but certainly would make sense that, you know, someone from this group and somebody probably from Natural Resources could be on that advisory committee.
Yeah, we've been.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I'm
Ken.
glad to hear that, Dan. I think we've wanted them to do that for a while, so glad to hear they're reinstituting it.
Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn? You want to make that motion, Dan?
So moved.
Yeah, I'll second it. All in favor? Aye?
Aye, aye.
Good meeting, but
All right.
pretty